out by Green. Throws it back up top. James puts up the three. Oh, it's good! LeBron James from downtown.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Three Guys on Mike. I'm William, joined by my co-host,
Little man.
Today, we got an NBA playoff predictions. Now, we're not going to include the 1 and 8 seed because the playing games are still going on. It is Friday, April 15th. So we're not going to have time to really wait for those games to finish up. But we're going to go ahead and predict every other series. And just a disclaimer, just to let you guys know, we would greatly appreciate it if you guys like, subscribe, share our videos. And if there's any series that you want to see us predict in the future, you can just go in the description. The timestamp will be there. Our editor will put it there. So you want to jump up to the Celtics and Nets, it'll be timestamped.
Whether it's your favorite team or favorite player.
Just to make it convenient for you guys, so you guys don't have to really search through our whole video.
Yeah.
But let's get into it. I'm going to start off with the Jazz and the Mavericks. So first game is going to be happening tomorrow. What are your predictions? What do you think is going to happen? Obviously, we know about the Luka injury. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this should be a festival of scoring, right? I mean, not a lot of defense. I mean, Rudy Gobert is there, yes, but he likes to send the paint a lot, and that's where he gets most of his blocks. That's where he gets his Defensive Player of the Year awards. We all know he can't guard the perimeter. But I think that's where the Mavs have the edge in somewhat. And they've also had the second best defense behind your Boston Celtics since I believe January or February, something like that. And the moment they traded for Bertans and Spencer Dinwiddie, I thought that was perfect. I thought for moments like this when Luka Doncic is hurt, unfortunately, you have Spencer Dinwiddie to be there. I mean, he's been a solid role player his whole career. And now he has time to step up. And I've always been a fan of Jalen Brunson. Yeah. Ever since out of Villanova, I just feel like he has a lot going for him in these playoffs. I like his matchup against Mike Conley. I think he's a lot bigger, stronger, and faster. But the X factor here is the Jazz have Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I agree.
But then they don't. But that's where I think the Jazz take game one because they have Donovan Mitchell, and the Mavs don't have Luka Doncic. Because if I'm these two are going head to head in a series. I don't know about anybody else watching this behind the camera, but I think I'm going with Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
I think this should be the first year he gets out of the first round, and it's undoubtedly it should be, in my opinion, considering how bad the Jazz have been defensively and how many leads they've blown in the end of the season. So I think the Mavs lose game one, and I think they may lose another one at home, but I think I'll take him in this series 4-2.
4-2?
Luka versus Spida.
Yeah. Just looking at the Luka injury, it does suck to see what happened. Final game of the season, he gets injured. It was in the second half, I believe, right? In the second half, or was it going to? I think it was going to halftime, right? Yeah, going into halftime, he injures himself. Just sucks to see, and I think this series, Luka being healthy, Donovan Mitchell being there, I think they cancel each other out, and it just plays on to whoever both of these teams have, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you look at it, as you said, the trade for Spencer Dinwiddie, looking at just the way the Mavs have been playing, they bumped themselves up to the 4 seed. Just really going over the Nuggets, over the Jazz themselves. And yeah, like you mentioned, just the Jazz, just their debacle, the frustration. We know about the whole turmoil with Rudy Gobert only getting 2 passes a game from Donovan Mitchell. So yeah, I think it's going to be just very hard. I think it's going 7 in my opinion, but I'm still going with Dallas just because we don't know how Luka will perform, even if he does play game 1, even in game 2. But I think the Mavs have they have the edge for sure.
I will say this, that stat about 2 passes per game is kind of a stretch on people trying to make a story about how they hate each other.
I don't
know, but that just seems like a stretch to me.
I feel like people just go with the narratives just whenever they want to. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like because one point everyone was in love with Donovan Mitchell, his game and everything. Then all of a sudden they were trying to paint him as the villain of that team, and they were trying to paint Rudy Gobert. So just people were just going into the drama. I didn't really see the big point of it. But I just do think it's an alarming stat if you want to go deep into the playoffs. But yeah, I'm just going to go with the Mavs here. I think they're the better team. Just the Luka injury is going to set them back a little bit.
We don't know about Tim Hardaway Jr. I don't even know if he's going to play it.
He's injured?
But I think he does come back. Or maybe he already did come back.
Do you think that's
I'm not sure though, but I think that's a game changer for this series too. It's Tim Hardaway. Because the moment he finds his rhythm, I think it's game over.
I think also, me and you were there at the Lakers and Mavericks game. And when Luka was off the bench, certain things in the past few years that we've seen is that they haven't really performed well when he's on the bench.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's when they got their 13, 15-point lead when he was off the bench.
And when Luka goes on the bench, if he has to miss a game like this, the role players can step in and perform really big, like how they have in other games. Next series, we're going to go ahead with the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies. as you know, Timberwolves this past Tuesday had a very, very big celebration after the win over the Clippers. Made a lot of headlines. I mean, if you want, we could talk about that. But I think it's going to be a very interesting series. Just looking at it, I know a lot of people like to over-exaggerate. Or no, that they like to, harp on them for over-exaggerating their playing win. But I do think it was a big deal looking at the T-Wolves.
Yeah.
In recent years, they haven't had much success.
I was about to say that.
This was a big game for them. They finally made the playoffs. And I could sound kind of crazy here, but I think they do have a chance in the series. I don't think it's outlandish to say that they have a big chance in the series. And they can pull an upset. But, as you know, Karl Anthony Towns cannot foul out in the third quarter or early fourth quarter like how he did in the playing game. But to me, the X factor for this team is D'Angelo Russell. Looking at the way he was playing, he was on fire, could not miss, and that's something that you need from a player. When your star player like Cat is out on foul trouble, that's something that you really need, and that's something that I think could put them at an advantage in the series. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, we know the Grizzlies' record, right, without John Morant. When he's been injured, we know how good they are, but I really just do think that this series, it's completely different when it comes to a playoffs setting, and I think that Pat Bev, as you know, he's not the best player on the floor. Probably not even the top 5 player on the floor.
The best at getting in your head.
But he's the best at getting in your head and the best at getting in his teammates' heads and getting them fired up. I think that this series could go either way, being honest. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that...
Well, let me start with the plan. Because, yes, I understand they went a little over the top with their celebration.
Yeah.
But no one outside of Minnesota will understand how big that was for them. Especially for Pat Bev and his mom being there. Him saying how much the Clippers gave up on him, like saying he was injury prone, he's too old, he's not going to fit our system no more. Anthony Edwards, his second year, leading his team to the playoffs, leading that team in scoring, I believe, him and Cat. And D'Angelo Russell, he had a lot to prove. I mean, he's been in a slump these past couple years ever since he left Brooklyn. And then Karl Anthony Towns. Everybody likes to sugarcoat how underrated he is, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he has been. I think he's a top 5 big in the league, arguably. Mm-hmm. He's probably one of the best talents. But as I'm talking about Karl Anthony Towns, I think going into the series, the reason why I have, and yes, I do think the T-Wolves can win the series, but the reason why I have the Grizzlies winning is because I think their toughness is what overcomes this team. I don't think anybody outside the Timberwolves, besides Pat Bev and Anthony Edwards, is as tough as that whole Grizzlies team is.
That's true.
I mean, they're literally the example of dogs. Like, literal dogs who will go into a fight. They don't care who they're playing. Like John Morant said, I don't think they're ducking any type of smoke from anybody. Yeah. And I think that's where they win is because Steven Adams, everyone knows how big and strong that dude is. And one of the problems that Karl Anthony Towns has is him being soft, quote unquote, as a big. I mean, he doesn't like to work in the post a lot. As everyone knows, he likes to shoot those jumpers. He gets pretty with it. But I think that's where the Grizzlies win. They like to play fast. They'll punch you in the mouth. They're really physical, very physical team. And even when John Morant's not on the floor, they do damage, especially with Desmond Bane. Yeah. A 3-point contest participant. I thought he was my winner for that. And I still think he's a really good two-way player. And it's only his second year in the league, so he's going to develop as well. It's just the Grizzlies have everything going for them. Everything right is going to happen for them. And I know everyone's picking the T-Wolves to upset them. But to me, I don't think it would be that much of an upset, if I'm being honest. In my opinion, because how young the Grizzlies are. But I still think I'd take the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I would. Go ahead.
They just remind me of like a young Suns team, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could draw those comparisons. Do you see who was winning the? Did you say who was winning the series?
Yeah, I'll take the. Oh, man, I'll take the Grizzlies in 5.
Really, in 5?
Yeah.
I'd take the Grizzlies in 6, but I think it's gonna be a very close 6. Every single game's gonna go down to the wire.
Oh yeah.
Just me, yeah, and I agree with you. I think talent it could go either way with both of these teams. But I just really do think that the edge goes to the Grizzlies because of the way they play their defense. The way, I mean, as you know, John Morant, in the past, he's been struggling with his shooting. But at this point, it doesn't really matter when you have a team playing like that. And again, one thing that Timberwolves cannot do is turn the ball over. As you saw, I think it was about 2-3 weeks ago when Brooklyn was playing them. And they were playing the Grizzlies. They were blowing them out because of the way that they were playing ball, the way that they were just getting turnovers at the way, and even remember, John Morant was not playing that game. So I think that's really something to say about your team when you're just blowing a team out like the Nets, and your team really isn't. They didn't have their star player. But yeah, I do think that Karl Anthony Towns has to just lock in. This has to be about him as a team. You just can't foul out like that. And again, it's not even the fact that he fouled out. It's the fact about how he fouled out. The offensive fouls, lowering your shoulder, going for a rebound that just didn't really.
Smart,
yeah, it was honestly so. Yeah, I'm going with the Grizzlies. I think they're the more better prepared team. I think they have the best player in that series in John Morant. But I think it's going to be a fun series. Next series we're going to get into is the Bucks and the Bulls. To me, I think this would have been a very compelling and very interesting series 2-3 months ago. But I think right now, just looking at the way the Bulls have just dived, they took a huge nosedive. And the way the Bucks have looked in the past, pretty much all year, really. And we kind of expected them to be a higher seed this year. But it doesn't. That third seed. Yeah, they love that third seed, and I see why. They're playing the Bulls. So what do you think about this series? No, I'm being serious. What do you think about the series? What do you see in the Bulls? What do you see in the Bucks?
What I see in the Bulls is no one who could stop Giannis. But what I see in the Bucks is a team that's hungry to get another ring. And a team that I think can do it. Most definitely. The thing with the Bulls is they've been way too inconsistent. This is Zach LaVine's first playoffs, which I think he's going to struggle heavily. I think he'll get it going in the future, though. And DeMar DeRozan, who's been known for just underperforming in the playoffs as well. And when you face a defending champions first round, and you got all that going for you, I think it's just going to get to their head.
You're on the road.
They're on the road. They're new coach and Billy Donovan. This is just a teamwork. It's a work in progress with the Bulls. Mm-hmm. Like we've said with many other teams before. Hell, we even said about Memphis these past couple of years. Yeah. They're just a team working in progress. And I think this is a good first year for all those new guys that they brought in. This is a good first year for them to get a taste of what it's going to be like when you have to get past all these contending teams with star players, all this star power.
I like that point.
Yeah, right. I think I'm taking the Bucks. I think it's a full sweep.
Really?
I think they.
I would say, in my opinion, I'm taking the Bucks in 5. I really think it could be a sweep. But just looking at the Bulls' record, I think they're 2-20 all year against teams that are top 4 in both conferences. Looking at it, it's not a good record that you really want, especially when you're facing, as you said, the defending champions. You're on the road. DeMar DeRozan, great season so far. But the rest of your team, as I mentioned in the past video, Lonzo Ball's out for the season.
Yeah, he's out for the season.
Caruso, he's there, but he's really not going to make a big difference, in my opinion, when it comes to playing a contender like the Bucks. I feel like you just don't really have enough firepower if you're the Bulls, and just the way that your team has been performing the past 2-3 months. It's just not a good look. It's all the odds are stacked against you. I really do think if they could push it to a game 6 or 7, I feel like that's a success because of just the way your season has been going. But yeah, I don't see it really being any competition. Looking at Giannis, in my opinion, the best player in the NBA. Middleton, I think when he's on, that team is virtually unstoppable if he's playing his game. Jrue Holiday, one of the best defenders in the NBA. I just think it's going to be too lopsided. I think it's too much to overcome if you're the Bulls. So, yeah, I said it. Bucks in 5, right? You said Bucks in 4?
Yeah.
All right, I like that. So, next series, I'm going to go, in my opinion, it might be the best series of the whole playoffs.
I think it will be.
Celtics and Nets. Looking at this, I'm going to start off with the Nets. I think the Nets, as I said in previous videos, if you guys didn't check those out, I still think the Nets are the team to beat because they have probably the best duo in the NBA. I would say that they're the team to beat because of that, and I think that the NBA playoffs and I think the NBA as a whole is structured when it comes to just superstar power. But I think as an overall team, I think that's where it can really bite them in the you-know-what. Because if you look at it, Kyrie played one of his best games that I've seen him play in a while against the Cleveland Cavaliers, right, in the playing game. Durant, as I've been saying, even when he's not on when it comes to scoring, he's still doing other things like playing defense, assisting, rebounding. But just looking at it, and you barely sneak out against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the playoff atmosphere. You're at home. Karis LeVert shot 3 for 14, I believe. He wasn't really playing that well. The Cavs are a very inexperienced team, and he still escaped with that win. I'm not totally convinced in this team and what I see with them. I do think that they could turn it around, and I think that this is a team where I feel like these two teams, they have a history, as we know, with Kyrie in the past. Last year in the playoffs, stopping on the logo. But looking at the Boston side, looking at the Celtics side of things, I do love their approach in the last game of the season. They did not rest their starters. They said, we don't care. We want the higher seed. We don't care who we're playing against. I feel like that just shows their mentality about how they're going to view this playoff. And I think if you look at it, if you're Boston, if you're any team that wants to win a championship, you can't be really ducking anyone, right? Mm-hmm. And that's something that the Bucks did. I feel like the Bucks rested the top 8 players on the roster. So yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting series. I think Tatum and Brown need to cancel out Kyrie and Durant. But looking at it, I think looking smart the way he's been playing, and I've been saying this. You said in the past he's I'm saying he's
He's
filling
still
in the
not.
role of the traditional point guard. He's filling in the role of facilitating. He's filling the role of playing defense. Yes, but I'm not saying that he is this superstar of a point guard. I'm saying no, he's filling in that role greatly, nicely. And looking at it, I think the biggest thing, the reason why this series would be so close, Ben Simmons is coming back in around Game 4, Game 5, and Robert Williams is out until Game 6. I feel like Robert Williams is the biggest loss to the season because of the way he just affected paint. You feel him when you're driving into the paint. So stop. But so I really do feel like that's gonna be the biggest thing. But I like Boston in this series. I really don't. I think it go either way, but I think Boston has it. I think right now they're the better coach team. They have maybe the best player in the series. I still think Durant is a great player, but I think right now, I think Tatum could really do it. I think he could really be the best player in the series. What do you think about this series?
Nah, I think I have Tatum over KD too in my rankings.
I don't think right now. I think Durant's still over. By saying the series, I think Tatum could overtake him.
I don't know. It just okay. Well, listen. Last year we saw a lot of Tatum going at KD, right? I just if I'm Boston, I think that's the whole game plan, is keep Tatum going, keep the ball in his hands, and keep. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Jaylen Brown hurt for part of this series last year?
Oh, he was hurt the entire series.
He was.
Yeah, he was hurt the entire series. Yeah.
See, with those two back, it's just a whole different story. But then again, it's just a lot riding on the wall for both these teams. The Nets have a bad taste in their mouth from last year, right? And the Celtics have a bad taste in their mouth from the way they got taken out in the first round.
Yeah.
And obviously they didn't have Jaylen Brown. So them two is just David and literally Goliath versus Goliath if he had a partner.
If he had a partner, yeah.
Yes. It's like Winter Soldier, Captain America versus Iron Man and War Machine or something, you know? It's just two juggernauts of teams going at it. You could arguably say that this might be whoever wins this will be in the conference finals.
I think that's arguable. I think you could argue.
You could arguably say that, right? I mean, I think both these teams have an edge over Philly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just because of their team chemistry, you know, everything, the coaching aspect. But yes, I do believe.
Thank you.
That the Nets win this series.
Oh, okay,
I'm sorry.
great.
I don't know, dude. I can't see Kyrie Irving sitting on his couch and Kevin Durant sitting on his couch in the second round of the playoffs, you know?
I know, yeah.
It's just like, and then that's where you bring up your point with Marcus Smart. I feel like that's the one thing that's going to take the Celtics back. I've told you this before. It's the one thing that's going to set them back from winning a championship is that the point guard. Yes, don't get me wrong. He's a very phenomenal defender. And you said he's filling in the role perfectly. But they have no one else to come off the bench and do somewhat of what he does.
I get you.
Yeah, Pritchard, but I mean, he hasn't really had that much of a spotlight in the playoffs. That's why I think Marcus Smart shines when he comes off the bench better. And don't get me wrong, he's been perfectly fine as a starting point guard now. But it's just, I don't know if I trust him going into a series starting with this type of firepower that the Celtics have, going against this type of team. And keep in mind, the point guard, whoever comes off the bench, is probably going to have to guard Seth Curry.
That's true.
You know?
Or Dragic. Don't forget about him.
Or Dragic.
Yeah.
Freaking Dragic. I forgot he was in the NBA. I'm not even going to lie. But yeah, I'm taking the Nets. It's just experience. And the Celtics are a tougher team, don't get me wrong. But I think where talent, there's a certain point where they reach. And I think somewhat the Nets have more talent than them. Yeah, and don't get me wrong. If the Time Lord was playing, I'd pick them.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think it would favor Celtics way more.
Because that defense is just something else when he's on the floor. Because they know he's there in the paint waiting. And I think that they could switch off a lot of stuff. Because I think he's a good on-ball defender for him being 7'1". And he has a great arm length. He can block anyone's shot. So that's why, with the Time Lord being out, it just declines my picks for the Celtics.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point about saying how the NBA is more of a superstar-driven league. Just looking at it, the Nets top 2 versus Boston's top 2, I would still take the Nets. But where it falls is the rest of the players. The role players, I think, I trust in Smart, Pritchard, I trust in Horford, I trust in Derek White, I trust in all of these players. And again, I do think that the Nets have some good key role players, Seth Curry, Bruce Brown, etc. But I just think when it comes to it, it's the consistency, and that the Celtics, keep in mind, these teams that they've been playing, they've been blowing them out of the water. I think they set a record. It was one of 3 teams in NBA history to blow teams out, I think, over 20 times in the span of like 40 games, something like that. So Boston has been playing very, very well. And again, the only thing that worries me is how Boston performs in the clutch. As you know, that was really the Achilles heel of this team earlier in the year. And I think even right now, I think they do struggle a little bit with closing games out in the clutch. And I do trust in the Nets in that situation. I'm still riding with Boston. I think they're the more physical team. I think they're the better defensive team, as we know. I think they're the better coach team. But the Nets could take it. So.
Yeah, another thing about KD. Let's talk about this tarnishing his legacy.
Going down the first round?
Legacy, quote unquote. If he goes out first round, the Boston Celtics team, right? How would that look on Kevin Durant?
I feel like it wouldn't look bad to many, except for people who have a narrative against him. Etc. LeBron fans, Laker fans, you get me? And again,
a lot of people have a narrative against him.
That's what I'm saying. A lot of like Warriors fans, but but I'm saying I feel like it isn't that big of a deal, but just a lot of the stuff, a lot of the things he gets away with, I feel like this is gonna be one that he can't get
when
away
you paint someone as the best player in the world, quote unquote, in the NBA,
I agree with it. Yeah,
and they get knocked out first round. There has to be consequences to that.
I agree with that, and I think it should be on both sides. Let's say you're the best player in the world and you don't make the play-in. I think you have to face some consequences as well.
No, yeah, see, like that's my point. LeBron last year, first round out of the first round exit. So if Kevin Durant does it to a team he knows he can beat, and he loses in the first round, to a first-year head coach.
Yeah.
Oh, and they don't even have their starting center.
Yeah, I think.
Come on.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's just gonna go both ways. Twitter beef.
He didn't have to play number one team in the NBA with the best record.
Oh my god. Anyways, so going on to our next series, I'm gonna go with the Warriors and the Nuggets. I think this is probably the second best series in my opinion, and I do think. Listen, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna start off by saying this. We all know due to Curry's his ankle injury, missing the past 3 weeks of the NBA season, he's gonna be coming back. Not playing a lot. In a game one situation, I think Jokic is the best player in the series right now. Because we don't know what we're gonna get when it comes to Curry. We don't know the severity of his injury.
Even if Steph Curry was playing, he'd be the best player.
No, if Steph Curry was healthy, Jokic wouldn't be the best player.
You don't think so?
No.
Well, based off how bad Steph's downfall was,
Jokic isn't gonna be running around the court with 4 people chasing him, but Curry will be. So, listen,
Jokic should be having 4 people chasing like that.
Listen, the fact is, I'm still going with the Warriors. I'm gonna keep it straight. I'm gonna keep it simple. Looking at Maya, we know what he thinks. He keeps on writing on how MPJ and Jamal Murray are coming back, yet no reports are coming out.
No. But either way, you can't use injuries no more.
What?
Lakers don't get that pass, so you can't use injuries no more.
Oh yeah, I don't care.
Because Jeremiah wants to run his freaking damn mouth. They get the 6th seed. That shouldn't matter. You get a 6th seed in the West. It's like getting the 3rd seed in the East.
Hang on, no. Wait.
Okay,
no.
in past years, not this
past
year.
years, okay.
Past years.
But no, listen. Maya was even saying that they're going to grab the 4 seed. Remember, he was looking at the games like, we're going to grab the 4 seed.
Man.
But just looking at it, they don't have enough firepower. Even looking at Clay. We forget Clay had 2 of the worst injuries any athlete, any human being could really face. Those are things that people don't come back from, let alone facing one of those injuries. But you're looking at 2 of those injuries that are severe, that could be even career-altering, and he's playing great for the circumstances. As we know, he's not back to his old self, but looking at the way he closed out the year in the last month, having 2 25-plus point games, didn't he have 37 the other night?
I think so. He got a 40 bomb, I think, on the Pelicans.
Yeah, so looking at how the way Clay's been playing, looking at the attention that Curry's going to draw in, Jordan Poole has stepped up.
Most improved player.
In my opinion, I'd say you could say most improved. You could also look at Rob Williams. No, I'm being serious. As other candidates, Marcus Smart.
Defensive player of the year.
Yeah, but looking at it, I just don't think the Nuggets have enough firepower. I think Jokic will put up an insane stat line, and I think
Grant Williams.
Grant Williams.
Most improved player.
But looking at it, I think it's going to be another series when it comes to looking at the past, like the Clippers and the Mavericks. You have a player who's just putting up a bunch of these stats, and you're wondering, how is he losing the series? It's just the help around him. I don't think Jokic has enough help. I think Steve Kerr is one of the best head coaches in the NBA right now. Looking at the home court advantage, we know how that Warriors crowd gets up. We know how it could really just get in everyone's heads. And looking at it, the experience. The Warriors have experience, as you know, a dynasty in the past. I think that the Warriors are just going to take it. I have it going to 6. I think that Jokic's performances are going to put the Nuggets over the top to get a few wins. But I just think, looking at it, Warriors have too much firepower. Nuggets just don't have enough.
Yeah, the Nuggets should win Game 1. So if they don't win Game 1...
Even then, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even if
over.
they win Game 1, yeah, you're kind of
I'm
screwed.
sorry, but
Yeah.
Jeremiah can pack his bags, come to Cancun with the Lakers. It's
Choritos, like Marcelo.
Cerritos, like Marcel's Wiley said. But yes, I think if that's the best chance they have at winning a game.
Mm-hmm.
It's game one without Steph Curry.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I feel like the Warriors still work really well when Draymond Green is running the point and him and Clay. Keep in mind, the Warriors with those three,
Only 11 minutes.
When they start a whole playoff game, those three, I believe they're like 10-0 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's actually insane.
This
and
year
only
they,
11 minutes.
Yeah,
later.
only 11 minutes played with those.
So
with
as soon
the
as
victory.
Steph Curry comes back, just a whole lot of clicking. I think maybe yes, Jordan Poole will take a step off, but that's how he started his career, and I still think he can flaw in this series because the Nuggets, let's be honest, in my opinion, they really don't have as many good defenders as the Warriors do.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Warriors, their length in this series will be a problem for the Nuggets. But I think, Jokic will get his stats. I mean, I love the Joker. Don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of the Joker. But yes, like you said, I still think he needs a lot of help. And I don't think Aaron Gordon's going to cut it the way his playoff performance was last year. I don't think Austin Rivers is going to cut it. Hell, Will Barton won't even cut it. I'm sorry. It's just he needs help. The best chance for the Nuggets to get any type of momentum is tomorrow in Game 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
5:30.
Still a game.
Yeah, you steal a game, but if they don't and they end up losing, it's another sweep.
Yeah, and just looking at it, looking at the way that Curry has, as we know, his stats kind of dived after, they kind of dipped a little bit after he broke the 3-point record all time, right? And we also forget that Draymond was hurt for a large chunk of those games when he wasn't playing well. So we haven't seen Curry and Draymond play well together, and also Clay on the side, along with Jordan Poole. But I do think the biggest thing is that they don't have a real big. That the Warriors, I think that's something that they could really suffer with. And I think
everyone thought James Wiseman was coming back this
year.
season.
He's not going to come back. So I think it just sucks. Looney is cool and all, but he's not going to get it done against Jokic. I think Jokic is going to put up 40 bombs a lot in this series, and he's going to have a lot of triple doubles. Again, like I said,
no, you don't throw Kevon Looney at Jokic. Throw Draymond at Jokic.
Okay, that's fair, but then again, it's like I just still don't think anyone is really going to. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he'll put like a dent in him, but like it's not like he's gonna take.
No one. I don't think anyone's really gonna stop Jokic.
Yeah, he's one of those people. As much as you try, he just won't.
Unless you throw Giannis on him or something, but
still, I don't even know. Yeah.
Okay, now we're going on to the last series that we're gonna predict. As we know, we're not gonna predict 1 and 8 because we don't know the outcome of the playing games yet. But the last series, and I think it's gonna be more of an interesting one, is the Raptors and Sixers. Now, as we know, I love to hit on the Sixers. I despise that team. You could say the Lakers are 1A. 1B. The Sixers are 1A. When it comes to teams I love to hate on. But I really do think this series can be a major upset. Looking at Toronto, the way they've been playing, I think they're 18-5, I believe, in the last to close out the regular season. Looking at just the way they've been playing, Siakam has had a bounce back year. And I really do think that he could be, at times, the best player for that team. As you know, Fred VanVleet also is there.
Siakam had a very underrated year.
Yeah, and again, no one really started to talk about him until it was, 2-3 weeks ago? But before that, no one was really mentioning his name. No. Scotty Barnes is also playing out of his mind for...
Rookie of the Year, in my opinion.
I would say so, Rookie of the Year as well. Looking at the other side, the Sixers, a team that you would expect to possibly be the 1 seed. You have 2 superstars like that. James Harden, who we know what he's about, what he's done in the past, and Embiid, potentially the MVP in a lot of people's eyes. But just looking at the way Harden has been shooting, and again, that's kind of the whole thing about his game is just the way he can shoot the 3. And again, I think who was talking about? I think it was Jalen Rose. Somebody was saying that he's lost his explosiveness. And I think if you watch the games, he really has. You really haven't seen him make those plays where you're like, damn.
He doesn't do the between the legs blow by anymore.
No, he just lost his speed. He can't really jump like how he used to. And again, when your shot is down, and again, that's the big thing that everyone has been saying about LeBron in the past years. Well, even though you could argue that he really hasn't, but he's lost a lot of his explosiveness, and the things that has kind of stepped up is his 3, a lot of stuff like that.
But Harden's not even shooting the 3 all that well.
Yeah, so it's like, what really does he provide for you? And again, he controls the ball a lot on offense. So it's like he's kind of, in a lot of people's eyes, he can make this team worse. But I think where you need to just kind of find that missing piece is with Maxey and Tobias Harris. Mm-hmm. Looking at those 2 players, I wouldn't say they're inconsistent, but they're not as great as the Sixers need them.
Tobias Harris is inconsistent.
Tobias Harris is inconsistent.
He's like, man.
Yeah, but I think that you need those players to be great this series to get by. I think, as I said, Embiid is going to get his. He's going to go for 40, do all that stuff. But I think if you look at it, it's where everyone else needs to fall in place. Matisse Thybulle is a really good player. In my opinion, he's probably first team all-defensive NBA this year. But you're going to have him gone from games 3, 4, and 6 potentially. So, because as we know, the vaccine mandate in Canada. So, I think that Matisse Thybulle, he's not vaccinated. And that's why he didn't play 2 weeks ago in Toronto. And that's a game that the Sixers lost to Toronto. So, I think that's a big reason and big issue why I believe that the Raptors could pull a huge upset in the series. I'm still going with the Sixers because I think they have the best player in the series. I think even with Harden, when he's playing half of his game, he can still be a threat on offense. So I'm still going to go with them, but I'm going in 7. I do think that they're going to cause a lot of trouble for the Sixers. I don't think... And again, Doc Rivers.
Oh, man.
Teams, for some reason, whenever he gets hired, everyone is just, yes, we got him. Then you start playing a few games, a couple of months go by, and then you're kind of like, I want him out of here. I'm blaming his rotations. This and that, blah, blah. So I think that you look at it, the Raptors have a better head coach. We saw what they did against Embiid to end the year. We saw what he did in the bubble against Kemba. How he kind of neutralized him. So I think that it could be a lot of X's and O's stuff. And I think the Raptors do have the edge slightly. But I'm still going to go with the Sixers because of their superstar power. Go ahead.
You really hate them that much.
I do, yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, Embiid's obviously clear-cut the best player in the series. And then probably Harden. And then I think after that, Scotty Barnes. But I think or Siakam, sorry.
Yeah.
But I think where the Raptors do have an advantage is probably their speed. I think they run the floor a lot faster than the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
And with Scotty Barnes, I'm throwing him on Harden. His length and his size on Harden is just will give him hell. And I think everybody knows, like, you can't sugarcoat it, but any tall person that guards James Harden, he's going to look to pass the ball. Mm-hmm. And when he's frustrated and he starts looking to pass the ball, turnovers happen. Mm-hmm. And he gets in his head and he starts doing all this stuff. And the last time that happened, Joel Embiid was pissed off because we all know the last time that happened it was Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that will take Joel Embiid out of his game. It's just Nick Nurse is a defensive-minded coach, and he knows how to get in people's heads. He knows how to frustrate them, and I feel like he can do that. But like you said, Doc Rivers, he's a first-round coach. He's a really good first-round coach. He'll get you out the first round no matter what. It's just with the second round and conference finals. When those come around, that's when you start to question his rotations and his decision-making. Mm-hmm. But I feel like, in this first round, I feel like it's not so much pressure on Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey. And I think that's where they'll excel because I don't think the Raptors have a lot of good rotation players come off the bench and give them sort of a problem on defense. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I'll take the series. I think Maxey and Danny Green, Tobias Harris, I think they'll all be X factors in this series. Hell, even Georges Niang. Mm-hmm. I think he shoots the ball at a pretty high clip, and I like him too. It's just he's really inconsistent too. But then again, it's like I don't really have that too much pressure on him. He's been here before. Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, he made it to the second round last year against the Clippers when they choked. But
they choked.
It's just like I feel like they have a lot going for them, and I'm taking the Sixers in 6.
One thing that we really haven't mentioned, and it's kind of something that we always mention when it comes to playoffs from James Harden, is the way he's performed. And if you look at his stats in the playoffs, again, you could look at it and you could say, well, he's putting up 28 and blah, blah, blah. He's putting up this, however many points. But the thing is that...
They don't show how many free throws he takes.
Yes, but the thing is also that his play drops because of our expectations and because of the way he's played in the past. It isn't that he plays horrible. He's not averaging 12 points in the playoffs. But it's just that when his team needs him to, he doesn't perform how he's been performing all year long. So I think that's the biggest critique about James Harden. And again, we need to see a dog in James Harden, but we haven't gotten that in such a very long time. You could blame the injury last year for his poor shooting in Game 7 against the Bucks. You could blame a lot of the stuff in the bubble against the Lakers. Going on and on. But I just think the biggest factor, and I think he probably, in my opinion, probably has the most pressure on him when it comes to this year's playoffs. Definitely. I would have to go with James Harden just because you've wanted to get out of so many teams for whatever reasons you have, and you finally have a team that we believe could possibly fit with him long term, but you're just not playing well. So I think, and again, you want your money coming this offseason. I think
he was literally an MVP candidate last year.
Yeah, it's insane to think about. Now we're throwing this label on him that he has the most pressure on him in the playoffs. So yeah, that does it for our predictions. Another video should be coming on next week hopefully with Jeremiah in this video as well. We want to hear his predictions.
Maybe probably like 2 games in to each.
Probably
series.
2 or 3 games in, yeah. But just thank you guys. If you guys stayed throughout the whole video, thank you guys. We applaud you.
Please check the timestamps if you want to see your favorite team, favorite player, the team you hate the most.
Make sure you guys like, subscribe. Make sure you just comment anything. Comment, just share it with anybody. If you have, if you want to.
Who are you taking in the play-in?
Yeah, and let's also not forget we're gonna have our polls. We're gonna have questionnaires and stuff like that on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on Instagram in the bio. But other than that, anything else?
You have any suggestions on where the Lakers should take their vacation?
God, yeah, I should be. I don't know. I'm just glad. I'm glad they're on vacation.
Spree?
Running springs, yeah. I'm glad they're on vacations. Honestly, like, best player in the world.
I wouldn't want to see.
Best player in the world.
I wouldn't want to see A. Disney.
You have Russ, one of the best players of all time. Anthony Davis, one of the best players of all time.
Stop. You'll be laughing later when we have Malcolm Brogdon.